We're going to talk about Kitchener stitch today, the bane of sock knitters. I'm on the record as actually not using Kitchener stitch for the toes of my socks. I use a more of a cinched closed with a slightly adjusted toe shaping, for the simple reason, not that I don't like Kitchener stitch, but that actually fits my foot better. Kitchener stitch on a sock, here's one I did do, it was a gift for a friend, so it looks a little worn. It's a little bit flatter across the top, and for me the decision is what fits your foot. I do actually enjoy Kitchener stitch, and I know that other people do too, but it's tricky. I want to take you through the steps and get you comfortable with it. We're going to do the first case here, which is stocking stitch. This is the one you do most often. This is the sock one. So here I've got 2 pieces of stocking stitch, and the way that I set up here is that I'm going to hold my 2 needles like this, because what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to see these stitches, because these stitches are going to tell me what I need to do. Okay, so I'm going to hold it so it's really clear. Now there's a setup step which I'm just going to very quickly go through just to get us set up, and I will tell you what the setup step is in a moment. Okay, so there's your setup step. It's really just half of one of the stitches. Here's how it goes. The stitches tell you what they need. This is a knit stitch. If I'm grafting stockinette stitch, I want to create a knit stitch here. So here's how it goes. I start with a knit. The needle is threaded with my yarn, and I put it through this first stitch as if to knit. Okay, and slip it off. And then I put it through the second stitch as if to purl. So on the front, it's knit, slip off, and purl. On the back, okay, let me shuffle that down a bit. Those are purl stitches. So it's purl, slip off, and knit. It's a little bit cumbersome with this giant yarn, I have to say. So I'm moving slowly. Okay, and what you need to do is adjust the tension as you go as well. We go back to the front needle. Knit, slip off, and purl. So there's 2 steps on the front needle. Okay, and make sure the yarn doesn't catch. And then 2 steps on the back needle. And if you look at the stitch, it's telling you it needs a purl, a slip off, and a knit. So there's all sorts of tricks people have for remembering this mantra. There's keychains you can get dog tags with it printed on, you can have little pieces of paper that you keep in your knitting toolkit for years and years and years before they fall apart, or maybe that was just me. But the process is this. On the front, look at the stitch, okay? It's a knit stitch. So I start by going through as if to knit, and then the second half as if to purl. The stitch actually tells you what it needs. On the back here, it's a purl stitch. Okay, you see that? I'm looking at the wrong side here. I need to create a purl stitch. So it's purl, slip off, and knit. So the magic trick for remembering it is that the stitches tell you what they need. You're creating a knit on this side and a purl on this side, so it's a knit. Knit, slip, purl. On the back, it's purl, slip, knit. And as you go, and this is going to look a little bit cumbersome again, that's just the thickness of the yarn, go through and adjust the tension of the stitches you're creating. Because what you're doing with Kitchener stitch is you're creating knit stitches. Okay. Do you see that those are following the path of the fabric? They're creating the knit stitches. And again, we can adjust the tension here. And this is, I think, for me, the trickier part. It's easy to remember the mantra once you've got the hang of it. It's really just adjusting these stitches so that they're the same size and shape as the fabric that you're creating. And so once you've done 3 or 4, just go through. The very first time I did this, I worked all the way across something like 60 stitches of a cowl, and hadn't checked the tension, and it was a mess. So 3 or 4 stitches before you check the tension, and it's nice and clear. So again, once more. Again, once more. Through the front, knit, slip off, and through the second stitch purl, through the back purl, slip off, second stitch knit. And the setup, just to go back to the setup, which I moved past quickly, is really just the second half. So if the front is knit, slip, purl, and the back is purl, slip, knit, you go through the first stitch as if to purl and leave it on the needle, and you go through the first stitch in the back here as if to knit and leave it on the needle, and you're set up. And then when you come to the end, you really just only have the first step to do on both of them and you're done. So it's actually fairly straightforward once you've got that mantra memorized. Let's go back to the setup again, just very quickly to just cement that. So again, if the front, the mantra for the front was knit, slip off, and purl, we're just going to do that second step here. So we go through the first stitch purlwise and leave it on. And here, the first stitch on the back needle, if the mantra is purl, slip, knit, you just go through this first stitch as if to knit. Okay, that's your setup step. Now once that's done, you're in position to start your repeats. So it's knit, slip, purl, and purl, slip, knit on the back, and you're golden. And just remember that and keep repeating that to yourself as required. As you come to the end, the process is really the same. Just keep going. Knit, slip off, purl, purl, slip off, knit. You know where this is going now, right? Knit, slip off, purl, purl, slip off, knit. My yarn's in my way here, okay? So on the very last step, it's knit, slip off, and there's just nothing else, so don't do it. And purl, slip off, and there's nothing else on that needle, so don't do that either. And you're done. The setup step then is the second half, and the ending step is the first half.